Hey, what's good YouTube? It's your boy Genie and we back with another one. I'm mad hyped for this episode because it's about one of my anime goats. You already saw the thumbnail, so you know who I'm talking about. So let's not waste any time. Cue the intro.
New page, blank slate. I was built from the egg. Now I move like a blade, cutting through all the gray. Old scars, they don't own me. I was lost, now I'm holy. Got a fire in my bones.
In the world of Naruto, power is basically a genetic lottery. If you aren't born into a legendary clan with a specialized eye condition, an ancient demon sealed inside your stomach, or a trust fund of ancestral chakra, you are essentially a background character. You are an NPC meant to look shocked when the main characters rewrite reality. But then there's my GOAT, a man who looked at the entire genetic hierarchy of the ninja world, shrugged his shoulders, and decided to conquer the universe using absolutely nothing but a relentless cardio routine and the sheer power of youth. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, today we are talking about the sublime green beast of the leaf, the ultimate master of taijutsu, the GOAT, Might Dai. So to understand the story of Might Dai, we need to start where all good stories start, at the beginning, from the jump. Life dealt Might Dai a hand so terrible, most people would have just folded immediately. In a society where your worth is measured by your ability to manipulate chakra to create jutsus, Guy was entirely talentless. He couldn't mold ninjutsu, he couldn't cast genjutsu. Compared to his peers like Kakashi, who was graduating early and looking like the second coming of LeBron, Guy, meantime, was Kwame Brown. The difference between the two was insane, but what the world didn't understand is that Guy possessed a secret weapon that couldn't be measured by standard metrics. His father, Might Dai.
Never apologize for trying hard. It's an insult to your determination, Guy.
Might Dai didn't have a legendary name or a hidden vault of secret scrolls to pass down. He was a low-ranking ninja like Guy who spent his life doing menial chores, but Dai passed down something infinitely more valuable, a worldview. He taught Guy that true victory isn't about defeating a specific opponent on a battlefield. True victory is having the courage to protect the things you love, even if it costs you everything. And when the moment of truth came, Dai put his money where his mouth was. Faced with the legendary 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist, an elite squad that should have effortlessly wiped out Dai, and Dai stepped up. He opened the Forbidden 8 Gates, a suicidal technique he had spent 20 years perfecting in secret to save his son. That moment shattered the box life tried to trap Guy in. The world labeled his father a failure, but that failure just stood solo against an army of elites and won. Dai didn't just save Guy's life that day, he gave him the blueprint. He proved that an ordinary human being, through sheer, unadulterated willpower and brutal repetition, could strike absolute terror into the hearts of the world's most elite. With his father's philosophy locked into his soul, Guy set his sights on the ultimate benchmark of talent in his eyes at the time, Kakashi. The rivalry between Guy and Kakashi is easily one of the best dynamics in Naruto, mostly because Guy essentially willed it into existence through pure, relentless energy. Kakashi didn't ask for this. He was just trying to cope with his childhood trauma, and this hyperactive dude in the green spandex kept popping out of the bushes, demanding they play rock, paper, scissors, or have a race across the village. Side note, as much I love Guy, this fit is straight cheese, something you'd see at the Met Gala for real. On the surface, it's top tier comedy. It's like watching an overenthusiastic golden retriever try to become best friends with a depressed alley cat. But if you look beneath the humor, there's a psychological strategy at play. Guy knew that if he allowed himself to feel inferior to Kakashi's genius, the box would close on him. By treating every single interaction, even eating contests, like Game 7 of the NBA Finals, Guy kept himself mentally tethered to the elite. If he could keep pace with the prodigy in the mundane things, he could push himself to keep pace with him on the battlefield. Which is low-key fire, but also a bit psycho. Like, if I can beat Lil Wayne at rock, paper, scissors, I might just be able to kill and out-rap him in a verse. But then, the narrative took a dark turn. Kakashi joined the Anbu Black Ops, which is essentially the official depression pipeline of the Hidden Leaf Village kids who joined the Anbu have more trauma than Reek from Game of Thrones. Kakashi was drowning in grief from losing his father, teammates, and his master, and was convinced by this bum of an old man, Danzo, to join the Anbu. And naturally, Kakashi killed this role, and a whole bunch of ninjas. Since Obito gave Kakashi his eye, my man became a straight demon with a Chidori, spamming it like Ryu players with a Shoryuken. And so when Guy realized his rival was losing his humanity to the shadows, he didn't just stand by. He actually went to the third Hokage and begged to be placed in the Anbu just so he could watch over his friend. Think about that for a second. Guy, a man whose entire soul is built on brightness and loud positivity, was willing to dive into the darkest pit of the military complex just to pull his brother out. The Hokage refused, knowing that Guy's vibrant spirit would be snuffed out in that environment. So what did Guy do instead? He doubled down on his overwhelming positivity. He became Kakashi's anchor to the light. He forced Kakashi to remember what it felt like to laugh, to compete, and to live. That isn't just a rivalry, that's God-tier brotherhood. And even though it wasn't solely up to him, I reckon this was a strong catalyst for Kakashi to get out of his slump. And when it comes to being a mentor, my guy isn't just good, he is arguably the gold standard of the entire show and did more for his students than everyone else in the Leaf. Kakashi barely developed any of his students other than Sasuke, who eventually just became a plot armored demon. He did nothing for Sakura and barely taught Naruto any new skills. And yes, I know he helped with the Rasen Shuriken, but Yamato and Asuma still had to help him, otherwise he would never master the jutsu. Guy, on the other hand, had Neji Hyuga, a genetic genius who was deeply trapped in a toxic box of destiny and fatalism. He had Tenten, who was trying her absolute best with standard weaponry. And then he had Rock Lee. And even though he didn't do much for these two, he definitely cooked with Lee. When Guy met Rock Lee, it was like looking into a mirror. Lee was the new generation's version of a loser. He had zero talent for ninjutsu or genjutsu, but where the rest of the village saw a liability, Guy saw infinite potential. Guy's obsession with the power of youth isn't just a goofy catchphrase. It actually embodies a profound principle often reflected in ancient wisdom. The idea of maximizing your productivity while your strength is at its absolute peak, before the hardships of life slow you down. Guy understood that youth isn't merely an age, it's a high-velocity window of opportunity. It's the time when your internal fire burns the hottest, and he refused to let Lee's fire be extinguished by societal expectations. He didn't just teach Lee how to throw a proper punch, he gave him a psychological fortress. The emotional peak of their relationship comes during the Chunin exams arc. Lee's spine is crushed, and the medical ninjas tell him that his career is over, and the surgery to fix him has a 50-50 chance of killing him. Lee is broken, he's terrified, and Guy sits down next to him and tells him that if the surgery fails and Lee dies, Guy will die right along with him. A promise beyond duty.
In 1,000? No, 1 in a million chance something should happen to go wrong. I will die right along with you.
Bro, I challenge anyone to watch that scene with a straight face and not sweat profusely out of their eyes. That isn't just a teacher doing a job. That is a father figure building a bridge over an abyss so his student can walk across it. Guy didn't just break his own box. He spent his entire adult life making sure his student had the tools to smash his too. Alright, we've talked about the emotional depth and the philosophy, but we need to pivot to the absolute smoke. Because when it was time to actually throw hands, my guy was an absolute problem in battle. Let's look at his multi-arc beef with Kisame. Kisame is an S-rank international terrorist with a crazy chakra-devouring sword and a chakra pool so massive he's called a tailless tailed beast. The dude is a walking nuke, and my guy fought him 3 separate times across the series and straight up forgot his name every single time. Do you understand the level of disrespect required to repeatedly engage a global threat in high-stakes Mortal Kombat and treat him like an NPC? Kisame out here dropping high-level water-style jutsu, creating literal oceans in the desert, and Guy is just staring at him like,
Wait a minute! Who are you?
In their final clash, Kisame launches a giant sharp projectile designed to absorb an opponent's chakra and grow stronger. It's a perfect counter to almost any ninja, but Guy opens the 7th gate and drops the Hirodora, the daytime tiger. It looks like a massive energy blast, but the narrative goes out of its way to clarify. It's not chakra, it's pure compressed air pressure. Guy literally punched the atmosphere so hard that the resulting shockwave created a localized natural disaster. Kisame's chakra eating trick didn't work because there was no magic to eat, just a terrifyingly heavy amount of physics moving at hypersonic speeds. Now let's take a quick detour for a massive what-if scenario that fans constantly debate. Remember early in the series when Kisame and Itachi Uchiha casually strolled into the Leaf Village? Kakashi was caught in Itachi's Tsukuyomi, completely incapacitated. Then Guy arrived, kicked Kisame directly in his face, and casually instructed everyone to just look at their feet to completely bypass Itachi's visual genjutsu. Now if this fight actually happened, who do you think wins? I know power scalers on YouTube have probably tackled the topic, but in my opinion, Guy wins this interaction. Think about the mechanics. Itachi's Sharingan relies heavily on reading an opponent's muscle movements and tracking their chakra. But if Guy opens the higher gates, his physical speed completely outruns the processing power of the human eye. Furthermore, Kisame's entire combat loop relies on Samahata draining an opponent's spiritual energy. Against a guy who is fighting purely with kinetic energy and air pressure, Samahata becomes nothing more than an oversized spiky paperweight. If Guy pulled the regulatory pins out of his system during that invasion, that alleyway battle would have turned into an absolute bloodbath. But all of that, the training, the rivalries, the Akatsuki skirmishes, was just a prelude to the grand finale, the 4th Shinobi World War. At this point in the story, Jubi Madara had achieved literal godhood. He had absorbed the Ten-Tails, possessed the Rinnegan, and was entirely immune to standard ninjutsu. The 5 Kage had been dismantled. Naruto and Sasuke were temporarily out of action. The entire alliance was standing on the edge of annihilation. The ultimate box was closing on the human race. So, the talentless kid from the academy stepped forward, and he unlatched the final lock. The Gate of Death. The poetic structure of Guy's ultimate ability is beautiful and devastating. His greatest power requires his own life force as fuel. It is the ultimate manifestation of his father's lesson, protecting what you love at the cost of your own existence. When Guy opens the 8th gate, he isn't just moving fast. He is running so fast that he is literally warping the fabric of space-time around him. He is distorting the environment through sheer physical output. Madara Uchiha, a titan who viewed the entire world as literal insects, a man who fought the god of shinobi and smiled, looked at this green-suited, bowl-cut sporting dude and screamed at the top of his lungs, "I, Madara, declare you the strongest." Let that marinate for a second. The absolute peak villain of the entire franchise, a being operating on divine power, gave his ultimate validation to a man who couldn't even cast a basic clone jutsu as a child. Guy didn't have an ancestral destiny. He didn't have a prophecy clearing his path. He didn't have a cheat code. He just had the work, and if Madara wasn't completely broken, Guy would have legit killed him. No plot armor needed. Sasuke and Boruto could never. Guy didn't end up dying that day due to some classic anime intervention, but his career as an active ninja was over. Yet if you look at him in the aftermath, you never see a single drop of bitterness. You never see him mourning his past glory or complaining about his limitations. Why? Because he won. Might Dai proved to every single person watching that you do not have to accept the parameters that society, genetics, or circumstances try to build around you. If the world tells you that you lack the talent to succeed, you outwork the criteria. If life builds a box to keep you small, you gather your strength, you lock your eyes on the horizon, and you kick that box until it collapses into dust. He is the strongest character in Naruto, not because he has the most power, but because he showed us that human effort, when pushed to its absolute limit, can make gods bleed. And that's why he is the GOAT. So I would love to hear what you guys think of Guy as a character. Do you guys agree that he could have potentially beat Itachi and Kisame in their early encounter? And do you think he was low-key the best sensei in the show next to my other GOAT, Jiraiya? Let me know what you think. And if you aren't yet, please make sure to smash that subscribe button because I drop videos like this weekly. Anyway, that's all for today, folks. Peace.